Hey, Lowell, I want to make sure my audio is working. You can hear me fine?
Yeah, Chris, I can hear you perfectly.
Excellent.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the FABI webinar on marketing. It is 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. We're going to get started in a few minutes. We've got a few people who are still trying to log in. So we'll get started in just a few minutes. We have everybody muted, so to keep the noise level in the background down. So Chris and I are going to do the webinar in a few minutes, get started. Before we get started, we'll have an opportunity for question and answers later in the webinar, later in the evening. And we're trying to test a feature here. There's a couple of ways to ask questions. There's a chat option. And on the bottom of your screen, there's a chat option. There's also an option to maybe click and raise your hand, where if you look under participants, there's a raise hand option. At least I can see it. If you see it, could you guys just click raise your hand just for a test for me to show that raise hand works? Robert, thank you. JC Podiatry, thank you. All right, great. I see all his hands raised. Okay, put your hands down now. Thank you. When we're getting to question and answer session later, you can go ahead and use that feature to raise your hand, and we will unmute you so that you can ask a question, and you can also type in questions in the chat area. So just want to let you know that we're going to get started here in just a couple of minutes. We've got a bunch of people still just logging in. We'll probably get started in about 4 minutes at 8:05 Eastern. For those of you just joining us, we're going to get started in just a couple of minutes. We're waiting for some people to log in. We'll get started in just about 2 or 3 minutes. We're going to get started in just about 2 minutes. 2 minutes. So while we're waiting to get started, Chris and I were talking a few minutes ago, and Chris had the pleasant thing to remind me that his Green Bay Packers are 3 games ahead of my Chicago Bears in the NFC North. And so if it appears that Chris and I are friends during this webinar, it is not true. Our friendship ended a few minutes ago with a very, very nice, just make me depressed comments about my Chicago Bears. All right, so for those of you who are just joining us, I see a whole bunch of people just jumped on. We're going to get started in just about 1 minute. All right, we are going to get this party started. I want to thank everyone for joining us for the annual FABI marketing webinar. Um, as those of you who have joined FABI webinars or events in the past, you know that we are enormously committed to bringing content and information and education to the podiatry community to help enhance all of the podiatrists in the United States and really throughout the world for those few that join us from around the globe. Over this past summer, we did a mid-year webinar that was hugely successful. We did a New Year's Day one on New Year's Day 2019, and we'll continue to provide excellent educational content via the internet, as well as our annual event, which we'll talk a little bit more later. At this point, we want to talk about marketing. And for those of you who are running your practice, or you're young in the practice and you're trying to market yourself to grow your own personal practice, or for those of you who have actually taken the turn and turned your practice into a business, marketing is a key component to what you need to do every single day. We need to bring more patients into our practices. Because of what we do in podiatry is we get people better. We don't get, it's not like dentistry where every 6 months people come in for teeth cleaning. It's not like an internist who every year people have to come in for their history and physicals. We get people better. And as a result, we need new people coming in. And so to have a healthy practice, to have a healthy business, you need to have a good marketing plan in place to continue to maintain, but more importantly, grow your business. Because if you're staying still, you're losing. If you're stagnant, you're going nowhere. So you've got to develop the right, the right formula, the right philosophy, the right mindset to grow your business, to grow your practice. And marketing is one of the most important things that we need to do in our profession to grow our businesses, even to grow our individual practices within a business. Even if you're a hospital employee or you're an employee of a practice, you need to figure out how to market yourself to do more, to get more. And for some of you who might say, look, I've got enough patients in my practice, I don't need more patients. What I'll tell you is you may not have the right patients in your practice. We all want better types of patients. And so even if you're so busy you don't know where to turn, there's always an opportunity for you to market to the kinds of patients, to the kinds of pathology, to the kinds of insurance plans, or whatever it is that you're looking to do to create the practice, the business, the lifestyle that you desire. So with that in mind, Chris Mielke, who has been a FABI faculty member for years, and frankly, a marketing guru in my mind. Chris has been a passionate follower of marketing strategies from all walks of business, and I'll let him tell you more about himself in a second. He's really going to lead our marketing webinar today, and I'm going to add a little bit of color commentation. But really, Chris is the guy who I follow and do most of the marketing for Wild Foot and Ankle Institute. Is essentially following Chris's lead. So Chris, I'll let Chris introduce himself, but what he's going to talk about today is something that I have implemented myself to great success, and we'll talk a little bit more about it as the night goes on. And if you stay all the way to the end, there's going to be some special offers that we're going to provide for you, things that you can do in your practice that we're going to essentially give away tonight for you. So we've got everybody on mute, and that's to make sure that we avoid background noise. There is an opportunity in the bottom of the name section to raise your hand, and we will have some opportunities later for question and answer. So to get yourself unmuted, you'll be able to raise your hand, and then Nicole, who is working with us, will unmute you and recognize who's on to ask a question. So for those of you who want to ask questions, we will have plenty of opportunity towards the end for question and answer for Chris, for me, about marketing and marketing within your business. So Chris, I'm going to hand it off to you and let you roll.
All right, excellent, Lowell. Thank you so much for having me. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to be here tonight. You probably all hopefully had busy days in your office, and you're excited to learn something hopefully new. I think most of you will learn something new, and if you take this material and apply it, execute on it, implement it in your business is going to be better. We're going to talk about how to turn your practice into a raging cash machine using a simple 5% formula. And I like to break down words. I love to read, and I try not to go too fast. So raging, think of a river, and after a storm, the water is just raging. And I think about that in terms of patients coming in the door, the phone ringing. I mean, the practice just really doing super great. And, patients are coming back, patients are referring, all the great things that happen because of marketing. We all know what it looks like to have a cash machine just like spitting out money. And forget about dollar bills. Lowell talked about better patients, more quality patients, and certainly we value every patient, but we know what it means to have the right kind of patients in our practice. So instead of the cash machine spitting out dollars, how about 20s and hundreds and even more than that? And then simple. So we want something that's pretty easy to do, that, it's kind of a no-brainer. It really doesn't take much because we're busy. We've got a lot of complex things that we do. So let's make things as simple as possible. 5%, I love that. Like it's not 100%. You don't have to do 50% and not even 10%, but just a 5% formula. You're going to love this because really just 5% can go a long way. And formula meaning it's very formulaic. So if you just put these principles into place, your practice is definitely going to be better. Next slide, please. So is this you? If you want a schedule that's consistently allowing patients to stream in, quality patients into your practice, new patients into your practice, greater revenue into your practice, then the next hour could be literally practice transforming and life-changing. And I know this from experience because back 27 years ago, I bought a practice and there wasn't much happening. There wasn't a stream of quality new patients. There wasn't great revenue. And all the things that fortunately I have now in my business, I didn't have then. So I know what it's like to be on that end of it. And that's when I went to school and I went to work on becoming a marketing practitioner, because I knew if I wanted to build something big and become a champion in my business, I needed to do these things. I needed to learn how to market. I knew how to be a doctor. I had the doctor practitioner skills. I didn't have the marketing and business practitioner skills. And if that's you, if that's what you want to be, then this webinar can really truly be practice transforming and life-changing. So what you're going to discover is really just three simple things. How little hinges easily swing big doors. And we know how wonderful that is. How a system, save yourself time, energy, and money. I love that acronym. And any system in your practice, think about why do we put systems in place? So they can save ourselves time, energy, and in most cases, money. That's the solution. The solution is putting a system into place. And marketing certainly can be a system, and it can be a simple system. And then the power of knowing who rather than how, because the question is always, how do I market? How do I do this? How do I bring more patients in? How do I increase revenue? But the answer is not always how. The simple answer can be who. Who can you rely on? Who can you get a capability from to be able to build your practice even bigger? And who rather than how has become a concept, a foundational concept for a company called Strategic Coach. It's a person, Dan Sullivan, who's been coaching entrepreneurs for over 40 years. And he has turned his program, his flagship concept now is who rather than how. And he deals with literally multi-million, if not some billion-dollar companies. And it's all about teaching them one of the big concepts, not all about, but one of the big concepts is finding the who's in your world rather than trying to figure out how to do everything. So imagine this, your biggest check. another Dan Sullivan concept. So biggest check is, I take this from my former partner in business who loved the term the Christmas check. Like at the end of the year, we have a great year, we've got great profits, and hopefully you're getting profits. If not, some of these things can help you actually get profits. And profits is getting paid as the business owner, not just as the doctor. So imagine your biggest check at the end of 2020. You put some of these simple concepts into place, and at the end of 2020, you're writing yourself the biggest check you've ever written because you have put systems into place to build your practice, bring more patients, quality patients, retain patients, and your revenue is higher. But change nothing, and this is what it looks like. It's frustration, it's burnout, it's low engagement, it's struggle, it's blaming staff. It's a lot of things that we all hate. And I'm sure some of you on this call are feeling some, if not all of these things. And you really don't have to. I mean, independent practices can still be super successful. We're all proving it in the Fabi world, and hopefully some of you are that are now joining us. And if you haven't yet, this is your time to come on board. So my story, as Lowell talked about, I'm going to tell a little bit about my story, and certainly nothing long here. But again, I was, bought a practice, not very busy, certainly not seeing the kind of patients that I wanted to see because it was an older practitioner who I bought it from. So typically a lot of routine patients and things that I wasn't really super excited about seeing. So I went to work on becoming a marketing practitioner, and for whatever reason, I loved it. So to this point, like I'm a geek when it comes to marketing. I read about every single marketing thing that's out there. And the whole idea of it takes 10,000 hours to be an expert, whether you're playing the piano or whether you're in business. So that's what I've done. And I've learned from the masters. I didn't do it on my own. And that's the whole idea of who versus how. I was able to create a system where my practice got busy, and then I wanted to bring other associates on. And because of the machine, because of putting systems into place, if I plugged in the right doctor, not just any doctor, but the right doctor who really had ambition and really wanted to build themselves a big business, I had the marketing system in place for that associate to build $1 million practice. And that's a special thing because I'm sure many of you on the call aren't even at the $1 million level on your own. And you can be with marketing, you can be with systems. And then just imagine how beautiful it would be to do that with somebody else in your practice and show them how they can be plugged into a system. Again, save yourself time, energy, and money and have the practice grow. And even if you don't ever want an associate in the business, you can do it on your own. And kind of that golden number of getting to $1 million, it's not like the all end all be all, but if that's something you're striving for, certainly the things that I'm going to teach you here will make that all possible. And then I love helping podiatrists create and operate marketing systems. You're going to see a couple of testimonials. Lowell mentioned that he's been following the things that I do, and I just love hearing that because I know his practice is growing. And that's what's wonderful about doing this, is that we can share it with other people. We're replacing lost MD referrals because of marketing our practice. And I'm sure many of you are feeling the pinch of the MDs not referring down the street any longer. They're referring down the hall. They're referring to the doctor, the podiatrist who got hired by the hospital system to work there. And they would love to refer to you because you probably built that relationship, but they can't. So we've lost a lot of MD referrals in our business, and we have to replace them. So we have to have a lot of marketing systems in place to be able to do that, because it's not just me, it's associates as well. And we've got to be able to continue keeping the revenue up. And this is something that is done through marketing and through the 5% multiplier. And then, of course, take more time off. Who doesn't want more time off? And you know what? The busier you get, the more time off you can take. And it sounds contradictory, but it's true, because your practice is humming, things are great. You can walk away and take time off and feel good about it, and not have to worry about where is that next new patient going to come from and how am I going to pay that next bill. And with that, I want to turn it over to Lowell so he can talk about a little bit of how his story with the 5% multiplier and what marketing has done for Wild Foot and Ankle.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. So for those of you who aren't that aware of Wild Foot and Ankle Institute, Wild Foot and Ankle Institute is located in the Chicagoland area, Wisconsin, and northwest Indiana. We have 33 podiatrists in 23 locations. And while that seems like a very enormous organization, and I guess for most it is, we tend to think of all of the practices as individual practices within a bigger organization. So that, we have some practices that are just, 3 treatment rooms, 1 doctor, within the bigger system. So it's really important as we look to grow that we consciously, as we add providers, as we add people to support the providers, that we've got to do it in a way that keeps the integrity of the practice that joins us, yet we provide the services to make them do the things that Chris just talked about, become higher producers, better patients, give them the opportunity to take more time away from their practice because their practice is humming, and create those systems. So marketing, on the outset of this webinar, I talked about how important it is. And a couple of years ago, a little actually less than a couple of years ago, Chris really talked about the 5% multiplier. But going back even a few years before that, we went on a very deliberate plan to market our practice better. And this is something that Chris and I have talked about together really since we've been friends for the last 7 years through Fabi Mastermind. And I had ideas about marketing and Chris had ideas about marketing, but Chris was super, super passionate about it. So I ended up following a lot of what he told me to do. So in the period of time over the last 4 years, we have actually doubled our revenue, and we've doubled our revenue in a couple of ways. We've added practitioners, we've added doctors, but we've actually, each doctor who has joined our group has individually grown their individual revenue. So there's a couple of doctors that joined us 2.5 years ago, and they were both practitioners that had been in practice for over 25 years. And one of them 30, one of them over 25 years. And in their first full year with us, they actually increased their revenue by about 50%. So when I talk about doubling our revenue over the last 4 years, it's a real thing. And it's not just about size. It's about making each individual practitioner more effective and giving them the tools to be more effective, and then marketing to bring the types of patients and the kind of patients that they want. In the last year alone, we have increased our profits by 30%. That is significantly due to the 5% multiplier. When Chris told me about the 5% multiplier about 1.5 years ago, I presented this concept to all of the doctors in our organization at one of our quarterly all doctors meetings. And I used some very specific examples of doctors. If you did this 5%, which Chris will go into more later, how impactful it could be to their individual practice. And when Chris takes you through the numbers later, it is literally overwhelming how simple tweaks and simple changes can be such an impact to your business. So for us, we've increased our profits over 30% in the last year. And as I said, we are adding doctors and clinics with certainty, meaning that we know if we add people to the group, we know that they're going to increase their revenue, they're going to take home more money, they're going to have a better lifestyle, all because of these things that we did. And as a result, and you've probably seen in some of the videos that I released, we just moved our main headquarters to a 9,000 square foot patient care center, which has 12 treatment rooms, physical therapy, MRI, pathology lab, and it is an enormously valuable thing for us to have been able to create the profits to invest in something like that, which in of itself is going to turn into more because people are going to love the experience that they have in this new location. So in just this year alone, we are 14% up on our total patient visits, and we're up 15% on new patient visits through the marketing strategies that Chris has talked about and will continue to talk about through this webinar, and where we spend our money on and where we invest our money on marketing is web-based marketing, engaging our patients marketing, social media, print ads, and different things like that. But Chris will touch more on that as we go through the night.
Excellent. Thanks, Lowell. So why are Lowell and I doing this? That's a good question. So I love this. I got this from a marketing guru. Again, I talked about masters. So those who did it have an obligation to teach it. And that's how I've always thought. I've been a coach. I've coached sports for 25 years. I love coaching. And there's never a time when I learn something where I don't think about like wanting to share it with somebody else, and being able to share it with other podiatrists and see the independent practitioner thrive really brings me joy. And it's actually something that brings me more joy than being in the office seeing patients. I've done that enough. So I really feel like an obligation to teach it. And then, of course, those who teach gain many riches, and Lowell and I have gained many riches. Very little of it really on the financial side. It's more about the riches of relationships and watching practices grow, and really truly seeing people who are burned out, who are frustrated, who wanted to give it up, so excited and so engaged in their business that it truly has been transformational for them. And that just makes us feel so great about what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to echo that. My dad taught me that education in podiatry is key. And so, we have trained students, we have trained residents. I've had the longest running fellowship in podiatric surgery. But the opportunity to teach other people in our profession and continue to help podiatry grow to the true heights that it should be. Podiatrists are the best, American podiatrists are the best providers of foot and ankle care in the world. And this is coming from somebody who has lectured all across the world. American podiatrists are the best. And so for us to be able to continue to help podiatrists reach new heights in our profession and in the United States healthcare system is very, very meaningful to both Chris and me.
So I think it's important to really understand practice math. And this is something we teach all the time. So the average revenue per new patient, which you can get from looking at the total revenue divided by your number of new patients. So you can go in, and if you have a good system where you can run reports, you can look at your total revenue from the beginning of the year through, let's say, September, take 9 full months, divide it by the number of new patients that you've seen to come up with a number. And what Lowell and I have found working with over 100 practices is that the number typically falls between $800 and $1,400. So certainly some people are lower than that. Certainly some people are higher than that. But this number is pretty rock solid. So for every new patient that comes in, imagine another $800 to $1,400 in revenue for your business. It doesn't mean on the first appointment that you're going to be billing or collecting that kind of money. It just means over the course of time, consider it like the lifetime value of a patient is between $800 and $1,400. It's important to know that number when you're marketing and you're going to invest some time and money in it, because most people don't understand their math and might think that it's too expensive to do this, and I really don't want to do that because I don't really know what the return is on it. And it's actually really easy to figure out what your return is. So again, are you ready for this? Which means we're going to talk about 3 very simple concepts. This is not like being in the classroom and learning 20 ideas. The magic of just 5%, the little hinge concept. And Lowell talked about how little hinges in Weil Foot and Ankle, a 33 doctor practice and all these locations. And yet it boils down to each individual doctor who can swing, be a little hinge that could swing a big door for the whole company. And you don't have to be a practice that has multiple doctors in multiple locations. This is effective if you're just in your own practice and you're generating $400,000 or $500,000 in revenue. Your practice can grow. You can bring in more new patients, retain the ones you have, and increase your revenue using a system like this. And again, system, save yourself time, energy, and money. And again, the last concept, a game changer concept of who versus how. Who, not how. So one of the things that I've done in business for many years is stay curious. I love being curious about what's going on in the business world. I spend time on being a doctor practitioner, but I also spend equal, if not more time now in my business on being a business and marketing practitioner. So the story about the 5% multiplier is I was driving on a Sunday to go get a Diet Coke. It's definitely, one of my guilty pleasures is a McDonald's got Diet Coke. And I remember this very distinctly. It was sunny, beautiful day. It was a summer day. And while on my way, I was listening to a podcast, which I do often, and it's often a marketing podcast. The person that was being the guest on the podcast was talking about the best marketing concept he's ever heard. And of course, I took note. And he talked about how this simple concept of using 5%. Now, he was actually talking about how you can double your business. And I thought, okay, that seems kind of daunting. I'm not so sure that can happen. But I just kind of dummied it down to what can 5% do for the business and multiply the business. So I truly believe that was my best Diet Coke ever because it's literally transformed what we've done in our business. And I know it can transform what can happen in your business. So there's 3 ways to increase revenue. And this is the podcast I'm listening to and the concept I'm listening to. And again, he's talking about how can you double your business? You increase the number of patients. Now, he was talking to entrepreneurs from all walks of life and all different businesses. So, increase the number of clients, customers, patients. Of course, in our world, increase the number of patients. Number 2 is increase how often they visit. So it really matters like how often patients come back to our practice. It should never be a one and done concept. And you can either be transactional or you can be experiential. And being experiential means that they're going to visit your practice more. And then increase how much you upserve the patient. So upserving means that we're going to do more for the patient to give them a better outcome so that they're going to get better faster. And ultimately, it's going to help our bottom line because our PPV is going to go up. But if you do it in a way where you're thinking about the money, it's never going to work. You really want to do what's best for the patient. And the more we upserve people, the higher the PPV is. So there are really 3 simple ways to increase your revenue in your business.
If you're at home right now taking notes, these are 3 things that you want to write down because everything that Chris is going to talk about from here really comes from these 3 concepts. And as simple as these 3 concepts are, write them down so that you kind of get it later when you review your notes tonight, tomorrow, over the next coming days. You're going to start to really, this is going to be really important for you to appreciate.
So let's take a real simple math, equation here and look at what the 5% multiplier can do for your business. And by the way, it's kind of fun to put 10% in there and put 15% in there and see what the number looks like. So let's say we'll start on the left. And if you're listening over the phone, let's say that you have 1,500 patients that are in your practice. Okay. And we're talking about a timeline. Let's say you go back to 2018 and you look at how many patients were in the practice. And again, that's not how many times they visited. The first number is how many patients. Let's say it's 1,500, which is actually a fairly typical number for a practice, a single doctor practice. And let's say the patients visit 3 times. So our goal should be that each patient within the year visits at least 3 times. Now we know some don't have to, and we know some come 10 times, but the average number of visits is 3. And let's say that our PPV is $150, which we've looked at numbers from over 100 practices, and that number actually is higher than that. But I want to use something that is a fairly average number for most podiatry practices. And if you,
I'm going to interrupt you. What is PPV? Can you define PPV for everybody?
So PPV is the per patient value. I usually say PVV. I like per visit value. So it's the value of that particular visit for that patient. So let's say you do an office visit, an x-rays, and a cortisone shot, and a night splint in your practice, the average that it comes out to, the per visit value, the per patient value comes up with a number. And again, in a lot of practices, it could be 125, it could be 175. We've seen some over $200, maybe because they're a bigger surgical practice or they do more DME. Or maybe they're doing some cash-based services like, regenerative injections, but you can figure out your per patient value very easily.
So I'm gonna just jump in. To figure out your per patient value, it's a very simple math equation. The total revenue that the practice has collected on physician visits and physician interaction and surgery divided by the amount of clinic visits that you have. So just quick, easy math. If you have $1 million of revenue and you have, 1,000 patient visits, your PPV is going to be $10,000 per visit, which obviously isn't realistic, but just really quick math for you. But that's how you come up with your PPV. And as Chris mentioned, the average PPV in podiatry probably ranges somewhere between 120 to 250. I've heard less than 120. I've heard more than 250. But just to give you some idea of what Chris is talking about from a math perspective. So sorry to hijack that, Chris, but I think people need to understand that.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. So if you multiply those out, it comes out to $675,000 of revenue for the business. And again, we're typically looking at a year here, but you can even do it monthly if you want to. And if we increase each one of those numbers by just 5%, so take 1,500 patients times 5%, and now you have 1,575. And 3 patient visits times 5%, it comes out to 3.15 patient visits. We're looking in our practice to get to 4 visits for every patient, and it takes work to do that. There's a number of things that you have to do to increase that number. Sometimes it can be really easy for a practice because they're not good at scheduling follow-up visits and they don't have protocols in place, and they can just make one little shift and all of a sudden that number has increased by even 1 for that matter. That can make a huge difference in your practice. And again, we're looking for simple concepts to increase that. Sometimes it's harder to go from 3.5 to 4.5, but it can be easy to go from 2.5 to 3.5. And then if you multiply the per patient value, 150 times 5%, you come out with 157.5. So if you multiply the 3 numbers on the right out, you come up with $781,396. So you can see that there's over $100,000 difference in your business just by increasing 3 things 5%. So what would an extra $100,000 boost in revenue mean to you? And we're just talking about 5%. You might want to put 7 or 10% and play with the numbers and have some fun and really imagine how your practice can grow if those numbers increase. And also maybe just 1 or 2 of those numbers increase and your practice is going to grow a lot more. Multiply the numbers on the left, or the revenue on the left, the $675,000 by just 5%. And obviously we know that the number is a lot smaller. So we want to increase 3 of these things at the same time as fast as we can to increase our revenue very, very simply. So we want more patients in the practice. We'd like more visits from the patients in the practice. And we'd like to upserve our patients so that the per patient value is higher in the practice. And we're going to talk mainly about the first 2 because increase in the per patient value comes down to clinical protocols, and we'd have to see your practice to know what you're doing in the clinic to help you with that particular thing. But we're going to be doing some calls in the future, and we'll talk about that, where we can actually help you with that part of it as well. But we're going to really focus in on how to increase the number of patients and how to increase how often they visit. And the answer is typically marketing. So math gives you clarity. You have more clarity here, hopefully, than you had before. And you can see how one simple little concept, a little hinge, can swing a big door. So what's next? We want to create and execute. I can't emphasize that enough. I want to bold that and underline it 20 times, because if you just listen tonight and you don't go and implement and execute on some of these things, then basically you spent an hour listening. And execution is really the key. And you're going to see a couple of the testimonials here. You've already heard Lowell, how Wild Foot and Ankle has executed on the ideas. I'm giving them ideas, and they're taking them and running with them. So kudos to them for doing all the work. Again, they found the who, to figure out how, and now they're executing to do what they've done and the things that you've seen them do. On a system, again, not random acts, but you want to save yourself time, energy, and money because you're busy being the doctor. That's your unique ability. That's what you should be doing in your business. You don't want to have to be doing all the marketing tasks and all the accounting tasks and all the managing tasks and all those things in your business. To increase the number of patients, how often they visit, and how much you upserve them. So I call it marketing the Milky Way, and I have to thank Matthew Derriman for coming up with the concept of the Milky Way. Obviously, my last name is Milky, so I like it. I always think long term. Patience and consistency win at the end of the day. And again, we're looking to increase the number of patients. We're looking to attract and retain. And retain is really key because some practices are good at attracting and their new patient numbers are good, but the retention is not that great. And you're just letting stuff walk in the front door and out the back door. And that's the last thing we want. And the marketing system, the marketing the Milky Way is about bringing them in, close the back door and keep them in your practice and build a lifetime relationship with them so that they stay, they pay, and they refer. And you end up with a long-term relationship with this person. We use multiple mediums, and to really build a marketing machine, a marketing system, it's multiple mediums. I think about our business as a media company. When I heard that concept, I thought, how in the heck can I become a media company? And the answer is, it's really not that difficult nowadays. In fact, I was already doing a lot of things that are like a media company, and we can show you how you can do those things very easily in your business by using the concept again of who and system. So media company means that you're doing multiple things. You're doing email, you're doing direct mail, you're nurturing referral relationships with patients and healthcare partners, communicating more with your best patients. When I say best patients, again, we value everybody, but we all know there's certain patients I love to see because I love the pathologies. They just get me more excited. And then certainly there's, oftentimes more revenue that comes with that. So I want to communicate more with my best patients. There's opportunities to do what's called cash flow surges. Take a concept like orthotics and turn it into a cash flow surge, where with one mailing to patients, you can generate $2,000, $5,000 of extra revenue just like that. And then there's many internal tactics, and I'll probably have Lowell at some point talk about how they've used thank you cards and engagement cards in their business. And just really simply sending out thank you cards and engagement cards has done a tremendous amount for a lot of practices. And in fact, for a minute here, Lowell, I'm going to stop and let you talk about that simple idea, because I think when I told you it, you're like, really? Like that really happens in a business? And you figured it out.
Yeah, so Chris told me, again, it was about a year and a half ago, about this concept that he was employing in his practice where they were sending thank you cards, handwritten thank you cards to all of their new patients, essentially thanking them for choosing his practice and him as a physician. And he would send them a handwritten thank you note. He was also sending handwritten thank you notes as well as gift certificates to patients who had referred other patients, to thank them for talking about him and his practice. And he had his employees write a thank you note to a patient during the week. So an engagement that they had, they saw Mrs. Jones, they talked to Mrs. Jones about something that was going on in her life, and they sent Mrs. Jones a note basically saying, hey, Mrs. Jones, it was great seeing you the other day. I hope, your grandson's soccer game turned out really well. And so he did these three different, essentially thank you cards and engagement cards. So I brought it to our organization. And initially I told our doctors, all the doctors in our group, that I wanted them all to do these thank you cards and our employees to write these engagement cards. And I got a bunch of pushback, as you can imagine, seeing a bunch of patients in the day, who's got time to sit down and handwrite a thank you card? And who's got time for your staff to then put them in envelopes, address them, put a stamp on them, and send them out? Who's got that time? But because I heard what Chris had to say, I said, okay, I believe in Chris. Chris has never really led me astray with marketing. And I really forced our organization to start to do that. And interestingly, I also started to create a scorecard. and I published a weekly and monthly scorecard of how many doctors were sending out thank you cards. And then we were tracking their new patient volume as well as their return patient volume. And what I mean by return patient volume is how many patients do you come in for their first visit to you and come back for the second visit? Because there's very few things that we do in podiatry that gets people better the first time we see them. We need the recurrent visits to get them better for their best care. And so, kind of quick tangent, Chris challenged me once to do a little research, how many of new patients came back for their second visit. And I was shocked at how low that number was. It was far lower than I would have anticipated. So back to the story, which was I started tracking after we sent out these new patient thank yous, the doctors that sent them out, what percentage, how many patients were coming back for the second and third visits. And the numbers were staggering. After several months, how many more patients came back for their return visits. So what happens when a new patient comes back for their return visit instead of never coming back again? Well, they get better care, they get better, they're happier with you, and then they tell people about you, which means that more new patients are coming in your office. So for a year, we tracked this, and literally our new patient visits and our repeat patient visits continue to skyrocket. When I heard other podiatrists around the country saying that their patient visits were going down, their revenue was going down, their profitability was going down, all of that was doing opposite for us. And what a lot of the doctors told me is how much they actually enjoyed, even though it was a little bit of a time commitment, they enjoyed writing the thank you note because it helped them feel more engaged with their patients. And I can tell you, I've had many patients come to me and say to me, I went to several doctors and I chose you to do my surgery because I got a thank you note from you. And I've had our employees say they've really enjoyed writing the engagement notes to patients, and they felt more a part of the medical continuum because they're writing those engagement cards. So I guess you wanted me to give maybe a quick answer, and I don't give a quick answer when it comes to anything, but particularly this. But this is such a simple thing that any practice can do, and to take the time to write that little thank you card is just worth its weight in multiple times in gold.
What's amazing about that is there's all these wonderful marketing concepts that, many of us have learned over the years, and yet the simple thank you card, the simple engagement card can sometimes be way more impactful than any type of mass media marketing or, social media marketing or anything like that. So excellent. Again, you guys executed on the idea. It's one thing to hear it, and I'm sure a number of people have heard it and aren't doing it yet. So the idea here is to execute. Authority marketing is, building your authority in your business, how to become an authority, a celebrity, and an expert. And I don't mean celebrity like, you need to be on TV and fancy and, the Kardashians or anything like that. Celebrity is with your patients. And that comes down to, typically if you provide content, if you write about what you do, and it's easy to do it because you know your content, you know what you do, and you're the expert. As Lowell talked about, we're the experts in the foot and ankle area. So we did a small little book in our practice, myself and my partner, and it was easy. We had somebody help us with that. You don't have to necessarily do that, but the bottom line is that content is what builds your authority, and we'll show you how easy it is to provide content to people. Consumer awareness guide is just another idea behind content. Like, we want to make consumers aware of the things that we do and what to look for, and why Google is not the right place to go to find things. We're the expert. Come to us. We'll give you the right information, and you can trust us. Social media content, there's a number of different ways to do that. And obviously, now that's all the rage with all the different platforms for that. But, just posting things about your practice and pictures and things like that, how effective is that? There's more effective ways to do that to really build your brand. And, it's free, so it's so easy to do that. And some people, you ask them what they're doing with marketing, they're saying, well, we're posting to social media. And I would say, great, I'm glad you're doing one thing, but it's not nearly enough. And maybe there's different ways you could be doing it. We did a story video in our practice, and story is such a big thing right now. You know, your story is really your differentiator. You know, everybody does the same things in a podiatry practice, but to really differentiate you, it's your story. And we all have one. And whether you're a single doctor practice, you know, doing 350,000 in revenue, or whether you're doing 4 million, it doesn't matter. You have a story. And by the way, your patients and the people in your town will be compelled by your story if you write a good one and if you tell it from the heart. So story can be very, very effective in marketing. No-show cancellation strategy. I mean, there's a strategy for everything having to do with how do we increase the number of patients and how do we increase the number of visits. So everything has to have a strategy. Lowell talked about, you know, new patients not coming back. That's a big deal. When we did that number in our practice for a quarter, it was 33% of new patients had not come back for a second appointment. I was appalled. I thought we were like really good at what we did. And yet I realized that there was some systems in place, that there were some systems not in place to do what it took to bring patients back. So we have a strategy now about someone calling patients, and not just calling, but calling, emailing, texting patients that are no showing and canceling, because it's our job to bring them back and get them the best possible outcome. We can control that. We can't control the decision they make on their end. And then podcasting is obviously very popular. We started one in our practice, and I don't necessarily want to go into that. The bottom line here is that there's a lot of things that we can do to be a media company to increase our awareness and our brand amongst our patients and the community and the doctors and partners and businesses and all those things, to continue to increase the number of people who come to our practice. You know, the whole saying about they come and they pay, they stay, and they refer. Next slide. So who, not how, and that's the third idea. Again, use other people's unique ability. You don't have to have the capability and everything. When we own businesses, we think we have to do it all. And you know, many of us did it all when we first started our practices. I mean, heck, I was, you know, cleaning trays and, you know, vacuuming the floor and doing whatever it took to build my business. And now I can use other people's unique ability because I have my unique ability and I want other people's unique ability. I consider that a capability. When I wanted to learn how to do a podcast in my practice, I didn't have to figure out like how to do it all. I just used somebody else's capability to figure out how to make that happen quickly. Any kind of marketing that I've done in my business, I've used other people. I mean, there's not really that many new concepts. It's just taking the ones that are out there that are wonderful and executing on them to make them effective, and then turn them into a system. Again, save yourself time, energy, and money. And I love this quote that I read out of the Wall Street Journal. So Mark Benioff is the CEO of Salesforce, which is a multi-billion-dollar company. And he was having a conversation with Steve Jobs back when, Steve Jobs was still running Apple. And a company seeking to achieve true scale needs to, for innovation, go innovate beyond its own four walls and tap into the resources that are available from other places outside of your practice. Use the knowledge and creativity out there amongst other people. And that's about who, not how, using other people's unique ability. Lowell is a wonderful practitioner. He's a speaker. He's an innovator. He's done all those things. But he knew that he didn't necessarily have the marketing acumen. So he found a who, and we just happened to know each other, and he knew that I was into marketing. So he tapped into my knowledge. I've tapped into his knowledge for other things as well. But I find that we have found that practitioners that are staying within their four walls and trying to figure it out are basically just, it's the definition of insanity, right? Trying to doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result. That's not the case. You got to get outside of your four walls to really make things happen, and to scale your business however you want to scale it. Whether it's scale it beyond you, whether it's just scaling it up an extra $100,000, whatever it takes, oftentimes the answers are not within your four walls. So now you know the three concepts: the incredible power of what 5% can do for you, how little hinges do swing big doors, how a system of saving yourself time, energy, and money, of marketing and a multimedia approach can help you increase the number of patients and how often they visit. And of course, if we upserve patients, we're increasing the per patient value in our practices. And why focusing on who, not how, can improve your capabilities without you having to spend the time. You don't have to spend all the time and effort and everything that it takes to increase your capabilities. It's about knowing who can help you with that. So what if a multimedia podiatric marketing system was already available and created by a podiatrist so that you could attract and retain? And again, we're attracting them, bringing them into the practice, and retaining them. We don't want them to go out the back door somewhere else, so that you have more revenue, more patients with minimal effort and time on your part. And that's the key. Stay in your unique ability and don't get frustrated because you can't figure out how to attract and retain more patients. So this is only for you if you want to fill your schedule with more high revenue patients. You want more new patients and retention of them. You're frustrated with the revenue that is stagnant or maybe declining in your business. You don't want to invest time, effort, and a large sum of money trying to figure it out. And trust me, I've made the mistake. I've spent at times large sums of money many, many moons ago trying to figure out how to bring patients in the practice. And that's the last thing you want to do. You want to write yourself your biggest check at the end of 2020. It's for you if that's the case. So I give you the new and improved Ultimate Podiatric Marketing Machine, a system that can help you increase the number of patients in your practice and increase the number of visits in your practice, attract patients and retain patients in your practice. So this could be you. I talked about people who are in their own practice having success with using a marketing system, with using the Ultimate Podiatric Marketing Machine. And you can read it here. Since using Dr. Mielke's marketing program, our total revenues have increased by 25%. That's a big number. It's not easy to increase 25%. This machine is doing a good job activating a lot of our established patients. Again, retaining patients, retention, reactivation of patients who have not been in the office for a while. And it doesn't just happen by itself. It happens with intention. And again, congratulations, Taga. She likes to go by Taga. Congratulations to Taga for doing these things to bring the patients into the practice and, just really taking a system and running with it. You executed on this. You made this happen. You found your who, and your practice is up 25%. And another testimonial, I have hired a marketing person to handle this for me because I am busier than ever with the patients since I started using the machine. Dr. Mielke is podiatry's marketing man. I sure could do it, but he does it better. So Joel Morse out in Washington, congratulations to the Nationals. They're one game up on the Houston Astros, so hopefully they win it all. But Joel's doing the work. He figured out that he's too busy. Like, he's crazy seeing a lot of patients, and that's awesome, but he wanted to go to the next level, and he wants to bring an associate into the business. He wants to grow his business, so he figured out that he needed to find a who to help with marketing. He didn't just find a who in terms of what I do, but he actually brought somebody in the business to do the work for him because he wants to stay in his unique ability. So here's what you'll get in the Ultimate Podiatric Marketing Machine. This is new and improved. I'm so excited about the first two parts of this because these didn't exist in the marketing machine a year ago. And I realized that being automated and doing more done-for-you things for podiatrists is how their businesses can grow a lot faster. You're busy, you're doing things, and I know you don't want to spend the time on marketing like I love to do, and I totally understand that. So I wanted to create more automated systems for you to make it so much easier. The first two are about email. I have found that email has been the ticket to increase the number of new patients, replacing the ones that have been lost by the MD sending the patients to the doctor the podiatrist in their building rather than down the street to me. So I have implemented an email program where patients get a weekly email from me, and it has been a game changer. Every week, at least one patient will say, I love your emails. I'm here because you sent that email about a bunion, about plantar fasciitis, about whatever it is. So once you build this and you have patience and consistent with this process, you will see the same thing happening because patients love communication from their doctor. Not all of them are going to read it. That's okay. But weekly, automated weekly, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. You don't have to do the work on this. I write the content. We have a system together where all your front desk has to do is enter their name and their email. It goes into an automated program for your account, and we send it out for you. You don't have to even think about it. It's a slam dunk. It's all done for you so that every week you know that an email is going out, and you'll get it as well so you can read it. I certainly want you to be comfortable with it. I've been writing these for a long time. There's nothing edgy. It's just all about podiatry content, but I write it in a way where it's content, but also a little bit marketing. So they understand that, if you have this condition, you can come to our practice to see it, because that's ultimately what we want, is we want to trigger those patients that are kind of on the edge that, oh yeah, that plantar fasciitis is hurting me again. I just heard from Dr. Morse and I better, call his office and make an appointment. Number 2, the new automated 3-step email sequence sent to new patients. Lowell talked about how it's so important to keep new patients into the practice, and we want to make this system as easy as possible. We want to communicate with new patients and existing patients. So imagine a patient making an appointment, calling your office, and then typically within 24 to 48 hours, they're getting an email from you welcoming them to your business. It's all written out for you. You don't have to even think about it. We'll put their name into the system and we'll click the button and it'll be sent out the door for you. And then a week later, they're getting another email from you after they visited your practice. So again, imagine they're going home and they're hopefully feeling better and they're happy to see you and they had a good experience, and now they're getting another email. And it's another thing about welcoming them and hoping that they're doing better. And then a month later, they're getting another email from you as part of this 3-step, like nurturing, like keep them, like put the saying is put a fence around your herd. Bring them in and don't let them out, because you've engaged with them at a level that they've never seen before in any medical practice and probably never in any other business they've ever been in. We want to be completely unique. We want to differentiate ourselves from everybody. Number 3, a monthly newsletter. I always think online, offline, analog and digital. So the first 2, of course, are digital. The next couple here are analog. So monthly newsletter content for your top 100 to 200 patients. You can choose how many. I write all the content for you. All you have to do is get it out the door. And it probably takes about an hour a month in your business to send newsletters. And it's really a real simple thing that's all written out for you to your top patients. And if you send 100 patients in your practice some mailing from you, there's a really, really awesome chance that one of those patients is going to come back. And you all know the average revenue per new patient. There's also an average revenue per patient. And just think of the PPV. So if you spend $50 in stamps and a patient comes back and they're worth $150 or $200 to you, you already have an ROI on that. Chances are it's going to be more than just one out of that 100 or 200. Monthly newsletter content to your MD partners. This is really important. I've always wanted to send the MDs in my area who refer to me, and even other MDs who don't refer to me, some content from me. Again, will they read it? I have no idea. Do they see my name in front of them every single month? Yes. So they're going to be thinking about me. And the more we do of this, the more referrals we get. Now, our referrals from MDs are going down, but we still have ones that we have a relationship with, and we want to be able to nurture that content. I always market thinking about somebody, a young whippersnapper who knows marketing, who wants to be like me, who comes into the area and wants to steal my MD referrals or my patients for that matter. I want to be able to be the person that's front and center with the patients so they continue to love me and they want to send patients to me. Same thing goes with MD partners. Authority building monthly condition of the month. So again, content done for you out in the waiting room, in your treatment rooms, wherever you want to put this. It's a condition that helps to build your brand. It builds your authority because you're writing things and patients are picking these up, taking them home, putting them on their desk, put on their kitchen table. Maybe a family member comes over. Hey, I got that heel pain thing. I've got plantar fasciitis. Who's the doctor that you see? You want to show up in your life, in their life, every way you possibly can. I mentioned the cash flow surge strategy. So that is all about like taking something like orthotics and doing a mailing, and it's all written for you. All you have to do is, print out the patient's names and get it in the mail, and the phone will ring and patients will call your office and come back for a higher ticket item in your practice. Lowell and I talked about the thank you and engagement cards. That's also a strategy. It's all done for you. I even give you the content for that. We want to make them personal, but we give you ideas on how to do that. It's very simple to do that. And then last but not least is a marketing calendar every single month, like having a plan. And by the way, a lot of this stuff is automated and done for you, so it's already in there. But a monthly marketing calendar kind of sets it up for you so you know exactly what's going to happen. And if you're like Joel Morris and you have somebody in your office that is implementing some marketing for you, they know exactly when it's going to be done, and they can report back to you that all these things are checked off, and we've got our marketing machine humming and it's operating for our practice every single month. So again, the compelling numbers. What if you attracted just one new patient per month from the 7 continuous strategies? Just one. And if you do this well and keep doing it and you're patient and consistent, chances are it can be more. So if we take the lowest number of the average revenue per new patients and we say it's 7 from one from each strategy, it's $5,600 in extra revenue in your business. Again, we're talking about using new strategies in your business to bring in more patients, and something like this. Cut that number in half. Do whatever you want. Play conservative and say it's just a couple $1,000s more. The ROI on this can be through the roof. So you saw how Taga is 25% up. You saw what Lowell has done and his doctors have done with Wild Foot and Ankle. The same thing can happen. And referrals from these new patients and reactivations. I mean, obviously that's a big deal. So we're just saying that the 7 new patients are going to bring an X number of revenue. But we know if we do a really good job that out of that 7, maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 are going to refer. And then there's also reactivations from the strategies that we're doing. So the numbers just keep on growing. And again, doing this patiently and consistently and letting it, for the most part, have the system just work for you instead of you having to do the work, the patients and the revenue will come into your business. So this is what it looks like in terms of being automated for you. It's a simple form that a receptionist or a medical assistant or a marketing person in your practice, all they have to do, patient calls the office, schedule an appointment, they put their first name, their last name, their email in, they click add now, and it goes into your account in our software system that's HIPAA, all HIPAA compliant and protected, and nothing gets sold, and everything is very, very organized and clean. And the patient gets an email. They get a welcome email and they get put into the sequence, both the 3-step sequence for new patients as well as they get put into the weekly sequence. And now you are nurturing this patient and it's part of a lifetime relationship that hopefully you build with that patient. So benefits for you in terms of the ultimate podiatric marketing machine and having a who and having a system, saving yourself time, energy, and money. I can't say that enough because it's so wonderful to be able to do those things. New automated marketing features, as I showed you, mostly done for you. There's a little bit your staff has to do. It doesn't take very long. It's created by somebody like you, which is, I know your speak. I know everything having to do with what podiatrists say to patients. So it's not, by somebody outside of our industry who's kind of making it up. We want to build your brand and authority. If you're going to be doing this for 5 years or 30 years, what you want to do is continue to build your brand and your authority so that everything that you're putting out there, patients are like, I know that doctor. I know that practice. I want to go there. I want to send everybody there. They're going to love you because you have a wonderful brand. And as long as you back that up, your practice is going to be that much better. Creating more confidence and certainty. And boy, being a business and marketing practitioner can certainly increase your confidence. Waking up in the morning, know that your schedule is going to be full. You're going to have a lot of new patients on the schedule. You're going to be generating more revenue, and that you don't have to wonder where the next patient is going to come from and how to pay for, whatever expenses you have. Really brings a lot of confidence, and the certainty of that is wonderful. And allowing you to focus on your unique abilities. And that's what's really important, is you stay in your lane and let a who take care of the how. So the ultimate podiatric marketing machine is $597 a month. Again, we have new automated features for this program. We are waiving the setup fee, and there's no contract involved with this. The setup fee, there's definitely a setup fee to this. We have to take the time to do the automated and everything else. We decided you took the time and energy to be on this call, so we want to reward you for that. Again, You bring in 2,000 extra a month, you bring in 5,000 extra a month. The ROI on this can be astronomical if you just, again, be patient and consistent with the process. So you can get it here at fabbymachine.com. So all you have to do is go to fabbymachine.com to get your machine. But it gets even better. So we talked about the Fabby event that we've had for the past 6 or 7 years. So bonus number 1 is if you purchase the marketing machine, you're going to get a free ticket to Fabby 2020 event in Miami on March 13th and 14th. March 13th to the 15th. And I'm going to have Lowell speak a little bit more about what the Fabby event is about and what you can expect to gain from the Fabby event.
Thanks, Chris. So for those of you who have not been to the Fabby event, and I know there's a ton of you on this call, I'm looking at names up and down who've been to the Fabby event. This will be our 7th annual event in March. And the Fabby event is enormously unique in the podiatry industry. In fact, in the medical industry. We spend 3 days going over how to provide better patient care through better business practices. And we're talking about how to run your business more effectively, more efficiently, engaging your employees, how to add associates, how to add them effectively, make them profitable, make them happy, allow you to do the things in your life that you want to do to create a more profitable practice. And then ultimately, how do you create a better lifestyle, work-life balance for yourself? One of the key things about Fabby is innovation, and we bring the most innovative new things that are happening in the medical world and business to this event. And so when we have this event, it's a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and it is an all-day long event each day. And really interesting, people come back year after year after year, and we've had some of the same people every year. But when people come back and they say, Lowell, thank you so much. Fabby has impacted my life by more patients, more revenue, more profitability, to the tune of I've grown my practice 2, 3, 4 times over the last several years. We have one Fabby mastermind member who was able to take his family on a Disney vacation because of the year after the Fabby event, and mastermind had given him the power, the success, and the profitability to do things that he had never done before. And I can promise you that it's like nothing else in our industry. It's not a bunch of lecture. It's interaction between like-minded people who are experiencing what you're experiencing and have success, and in some cases sharing their failures so that you don't have to share in those same failures. And the group that comes, not just the group that lectures, but the group that is in the audience, the relationships that are built are like none other that I have seen in our industry. And it's really, really a unique event. So we talk about things to add to your practice, how to be better in HR, how to add associates, how to market better. So if you like what Chris is talking about now, there's way more of that. Key numbers to look at, how to look at profitability, and more and more and more. I just can tell you, I've always made the guarantee, if you go to the event and you're not satisfied, I'll give you your money back and I'll actually pay for your travel. Now, you're getting a free ticket with this, with Chris's marketing machine, so there's really not anything to give back to you. But my guarantee to you is if you come to the event, you will not be disappointed. So you're going to sign up for the marketing machine. You're going to get this crazy amount of marketing expertise from Chris. And then you're going to come to the event and you're going to figure out what are you supposed to do with all of these patients that are flowing into your practice because Chris has taught you how to do that. I can promise you it's life-changing, and you'll come and you'll keep coming back. And I just think it's one of my favorite things that I do in life is the whole Fabby experience and the Fabby event. So I'd go on for an hour, Chris. I'm going to let you go back to what you're talking about, but I think you all can see the passion for which Chris and I bring, and Matt Darabins, who is a FABI faculty member, and other great lecturers and participants. It's just an amazing event.
Yeah, and absolutely. This marketing talk is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to marketing. There's way more that we could be talking about, and that will be discussed at the event. But also, bonus number 2 is, and this is something that's new this year, so we're adding 4 marketing calls. So if you purchase the Ultimate Podiatric Marketing Machine, you're not only going to get the free ticket to the event, but you're going to get 4 marketing calls throughout the year. So quarterly, we're going to explore more marketing strategies. We're going to talk about how to make the machine successful, and then we're going to give you more strategies about how to build your business. And there's going to be 2 of those calls actually before the FABI event. So we're going to just start getting you excited and share with you all the different things that we're going to be doing at the event, but also just give you more ideas and help you build your marketing business and the system within your business even more. And we can explore other things outside of marketing. So it's an opportunity to get on the call with me for sure. And Lowell may be part of some of them. He may be a guest on the calls. But the idea here is that we want to be able to help you build your marketing business, help you build everything within your business, answer your questions, and continue to grow the patients in your practice and the revenue in your practice. So the first call is going to be on Wednesday, November 20th at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So we wanted you to know that there's a call already scheduled. So you purchase the machine, you'll get the details about that. There'll be an email coming your way, and you can plan that time so that we can really fast start launch your marketing machine, answer any questions you have and any burning things that are happening in your world so that we can help you grow your business. And that's what we absolutely love to do. And there's one more bonus for you. We call it the Fast Start bonus. So the Fast Action bonus is if you purchase by 11:59 p.m. Pacific tonight, you can receive a free companion ticket to FABI 2020 for a key staff member, for a spouse, for a significant other, for somebody else in your business or in your life that you want to bring along to this. This is really, really powerful because the practices that have probably gotten the most out of FABI, out of the event, out of all the things they hear for 3 days are the practices that have somebody else with them, so that you have 4 ears hearing this. You can divide and conquer and go talk to other people about things. You can bring an office manager who can meet with other office managers. We have a breakout session for that, where you have another person. By the way, that person can be your who, because the idea of going home from an event and having you have to do all the work is so exhausting. And we all know that we rarely get those things done. So how about somebody else coming along with you who is free, that can take those ideas for you, bring them back, implement them with your team, and help your practice grow even more. So you're going to get that bonus as a Fast Action bonus if you purchase the machine by tonight.
I would also say bringing somebody else is so important. I've had a bunch of people who have come to our event and said they've gone back to their practice with all these ideas, and people just look at them like, there's no way we can do all this. What are you talking about? And then the next year they bring those people who get equally excited, and now they start to execute all of the ideas that they learn at FABI. And frankly, at the FABI event, there are so many things, you will not be able to execute them all. Whether you bring your team or not, you're just gonna have to pick and choose the ones that you think are most doable immediately, and then put the others on back burner to do 6 months, 1 year later. So bringing somebody is enormously powerful.
Absolutely. So your marketing machine can do this. It can increase the number of patients in your practice. Number one, as we talked about, of the 3 ways to increase the revenue. Increase how often they visit. Number 2 of that, increase revenue. Build a sustainable brand, very important for long term. Brand is very, very critical if you want to build it long term. And by the way, the MD referrals that are drying up, that's maybe the tip of the iceberg of other things that could be drying up for us. So building our brand is going to be very important. Maybe we're all going to have to become cash-based at some point. And if you don't have a strong brand, then it's going to be more difficult to bring those kind of patients into your business. Increase the value of your business, whether you want to sell it or not, but having more value in your business is important. Maybe 4 years down the road, you're going to want to sell your practice to a hospital system or a larger practice, a super group type of thing. Who knows? But just increase the value of your business, and you're going to feel more confident and more certain about your future. Allow you to take more time off. I think that's one of the best things about all of this is that, the more patients that are coming into the business and the more revenue that's in the business, the more time you can take away from the business because you have more confidence that the practice is going to be successful. And then if you want to add an associate or get an associate busy or get multiple associates busy, it can't happen without more marketing, without more patients calling the office and making appointments, and without having systems in place to not just attract the patients, but retain them and keep them in your business as well. So there's many things that a marketing machine can do for you. So again, you can get your machine now by simply going over to fabbymachine.com and sign up and start the process and earn the bonuses and plan to come to Fabby 2020 and just take your practice to a whole nother level. Next slide. Just to recap, there's 9 components of the new and improved marketing machine, including the new automated features. There's the bonus number 1 of the free ticket to the 2020 event. There's the bonus number 2 of the 4 marketing calls. I mean, this is worth your investment right here. The amount of information you're going to get on these 4 calls. And by the way, they're recorded too. So if you can't make one of the calls, then you can listen to the recording because this is going to be valuable information. And you can have a marketing person hop on the call as well. I mean, it's going to be obviously free for anybody in your practice who wants to listen, whoever you want to have your who. And if you're the who, then you're the only one there. But these calls are going to be very valuable to help increase everything within your business. And then again, the fast action bonus. Purchase by 11:59 p.m. Pacific to receive a free companion ticket. And we know how important it is to bring somebody to the event with you. And it's wonderful in Miami, especially if you're in Wisconsin in the winter. So Miami is a great place to have a meeting. It's to be our 3rd year in Miami, and the feedback from the venue and the event and everything has just been fantastic.
Yeah, the venue's awesome. It's at the Trump Doral, which is hot in the news right now because that's where Donald Trump is having the G7 in June. But they're going to be sprucing up the Trump Doral for us for that G7. We do not have political feelings on this particular in Fabby, but we like staying at that particular property.
Yes. So get your machine here at fabbymachine.com. And by the way, if you're already a client of the machine, you're already getting the machine, you were on the webinar last year and you purchased the machine. If you upgrade to the new and improved version with all the automated features on there, you'll get your October refund for what you paid last year, and then you'll automatically be converted to the automated system and the new and improved machine that we're doing. So fabbymachine.com. Thank you very much. This has been wonderful. And certainly we're going to open it up to questions. Lo, I'm going to turn it back over to you for anybody that has a question. We'll look in the chat and see if we can answer any questions for anybody.
So underneath your name or next to your name is an opportunity for you to raise your hand. Anybody who wants to raise their hand and be recognized to take off a mute, we'll take you off a mute. Nicole will release each person individually, and then she'll announce who it is, and then you can ask your questions of either Chris or me.
So Lowell, Brian in the chat is asking, unfortunately he was just able to log in since it was a late night at the hospital. He's wondering if there's a rebroadcast of this lecture.
Yeah, so I think you said, Brian, we are going to be rebroadcasting it. However, the opportunity to join the marketing machine to get the bonuses is limited. So you should go ahead and sign up for the marketing machine, but we will be rebroadcasting this at a later time, at which we have not determined yet.
So I see a question here, how long is the commitment? And my answer to that is, first of all, I mentioned that there is no contract, but I would say that thinking that way means that you're just going to try this, and marketing is never about just trying anything. Marketing is actually about doing it. So patience and consistency is really the key. We don't have a commitment to anything, but if you're committed to the process and you implement, you'll get the same results as other people have gotten, the testimonies that you saw, what Wild Foot and Ankle has done. So I wouldn't think so much about how long the commitment is. I would think about start marketing and never stop.
Yeah, I think a mistake that people do when it comes to marketing is they test it and they don't follow through on it. And they do it for a month or two, don't feel like they're getting any patients from it, and then they bail. Well, that's probably the worst couple of months of money ever spent, whether it's Chris's marketing machine or whether it's radio advertisement or newspaper or anything else. You've got to have a plan for your marketing strategy, and you've got to stick with it and invest in it. And I think the marketing machine is an extremely cost-effective way to have a strategy and to follow a strategy and not just be spitballing all over the place and wondering if you're getting any return on investment. Is there anybody raising their hands, Nicole?
I don't have anybody raising their hands, but Dr. Fang said, thank you, Dr. Mielke and Dr. Weil.
Well, Dr. Fang, thank you for participating, and we appreciate the commentary. I know that you can tell Chris is super passionate about this, and whether or not you join the marketing machine, you can see that there's so many pearls that Chris shared tonight that will be helpful. I would encourage you to join the marketing machine, partly because I know that a year from now, you'll be coming back to this webinar saying, this was the greatest thing I ever did, and that if you went to Fabi event, you'll feel the same way. So I'm hoping that I'm echoing your feelings from a bunch of other people as well.
So I do want to make one comment that there is another marketing product out there, a company that does some fulfillment of some kind with letters and things like that. This is different. This is way more personal, way more engaging. It's more, consistent, where we're doing weekly emails to patients, which I believe is the flagship tactic within the whole marketing program. It's done by a podiatrist. So I don't have anything bad to say about the other company that's doing some fulfillment from that side. But I can tell you that this is all podiatry driven, and someone in the Fabi world mentioned that that's not really marketing, like this is marketing. That's the difference between the two, is that this is going to be more personal. It's going to be it's going to be going to the patients on a consistent basis. And it's going to be written by a podiatrist, and it's not a generic program. It's a lot more personalized to really build your brand in a better way.
I see that Corey Griffith has raised his hand. Nicole, can you unmute him? Maybe I can do it. Oh, I can't do that. Apparently I can't do it. Hey, Corey, for some reason I can't. Oh, there I go. Hey, Corey, go ahead. You're on if you want to ask us a question.
Hey, that'd be great. Thanks for the webinar, guys. But question for Chris. So we're in Columbus, Ohio. We have 3 unique freestanding practices. So if we go with your program, is that going to be 3 different programs, or is that one program dedicated to all 3? There are 3 different names.
You have 3 different. Are you the sole owner of the business? You have one practice that is under one corporate entity, and then there's 3 locations.
We have one corporate entity with 3 satellite, or one main hub and then 2 satellite offices.
Yeah, absolutely. You're under one practice. So this is the same thing as my practice. We have 4 locations. So we have a mothership office.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You're one corporate entity. You're the owner of the business, or if there's another owner, it doesn't matter. It's one entity. So absolutely, it's one program.
Perfect. Appreciate it.
That's a great question, because people ask, sometimes there's users when it comes to different marketing programs that are out there. So this is not about, if you have 4 offices, you have one entity, you purchase one machine, and because it's just a matter of putting your patients into the system and then doing some mailings to your patients. So it doesn't matter how many offices you have.
Okay. And that's going to be unique to our practice, right? With our logos and all that stuff kind of
Absolutely unique to your practice.
thing. Okay. All right. I appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris, there's a question in the chat. I don't know if you saw that.
So about learning more about the machine and the extensive explanation. So this is going to be, this is recorded. There's an opportunity to listen to this again. So anybody who came on late or couldn't get on or whatever your situation is, you can listen to it again. So you'll be able to see all the different components of the marketing machine. It's $597 a month, just in the event that you wanted to know the cost. You go to fabbymachine.com to purchase it. There are bonuses involved with that. So, we don't want to necessarily take the time to go through all of that again, but you can listen to the presentation again. It'll have all the details on there for you. And by the way, you get a video with this. So the video explains exactly what to do with each strategy. And again, if you have a who in your practice that's going to do it, I would recommend that you listen to it as well. You watch it. It's only about, 35, 40 minutes. It's well worth your time. You're building a marketing system for many years to come. You're building your brand for many years to come. I would tell you it's a amount of time well worth spending to build your podiatry system. So I would recommend you watch it as well. But everything is laid out for you from soup to nuts, A to Z. We take you step by step. We have a support line where you can email us to ask questions. We have the 4 strategy calls to answer your questions. I mean, we want to do this with you. This is not something that we're going to sell and run away. We want this. We're podiatrists. We stand behind everything we do. Lowell and I, we don't want anybody here just spending money and not getting any value for this. If you implement, you will get tremendous value, and we want to be able to show you step by step how to make that happen. And we think long-term with you. We know that this is something that can be foundational to your business. I've been doing this in my business for 25 years. There's nothing in this marketing machine that I don't do in my practice every single month. So, and I don't really have to spend much time on it at all because I have a system and I have a who or multiple who's that do it for me. And you can do exactly the same thing, even if you're just a solo practitioner now.
And if you go to, Brian, if you go to fabbymachine.com, you're not going to necessarily see the replay, but you'll see the information about what's in the package. You still may want to wait for the replay. I get it. But just you'll see all the different things that are offered within the package. Chris, there's a question from JC Podiatry. In your system, do you work with strategies to increase Google ranking and also making the Google My Business page a bigger driving force?
Well, that's a great question. The answer is this system doesn't really have anything to do with Google rankings. That's really like SEO and your website provider and the person that does that. But we're in the process of doing more with this automated system to be able to do some things with social media and reviews and things like that. We can't roll those out now. We're not ready for those. So the answer is we don't do anything with Google to help with that. That has to be with a web provider on a different end.
Yeah, and I would say for those kinds of things, you guys, you don't want to just, you want somebody who's an expert in that particular area. You don't want somebody who says that they know how to do SEO. You need someone who has experience and can show you successful experience in that, because there's a lot of people who will take you for a ride and have you pay them a bunch of money. And either they do it wrong or they do it illegally. When I say illegally, Google will catch that they're doing it poorly, and it'll mess up with your rankings. Rascal, I know you asked what is the site again. I posted it. It's on the video right now on the webinar, but if you're not seeing that, it is fabbymachine.com, FABI machine.com, and you will see all of the offer, what's included, the costs, the bonuses, the calls. You'll see it all on that landing page. Corey, I guess Corey's got his hand up again. Corey, I'm gonna try to unmute you.
I think I have that functionality. I'm not sure, but sorry for another question, but what's the turnaround time, Chris, from the time that we commit to the program to installation?
Great question. So you're going to get an email pretty instantly. Then it's just a matter of we send out a physical mailing, so you get what's called the Marketing Machine box that has a lot of details in there. So that's going to
Okay.
come typically within about 2 weeks. It's just about setting up so you're going to get all the details in terms of how to set it up on your end so that we have everything we need from your practice, like logo and just some of the details. The sooner the sooner you set that up, the faster we can get things going. So if people can get that to us by November 6th, they'll have everything humming.
Okay, great. I think that's all I have, guys. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Corey.
Appreciate it.
So we've passed we're just at about an hour and a half, and I never like to take up people's times too much. I'm sure you've got family and stuff to go to. I'm still open to a couple more questions if anybody wants to ask a question before we shut it down for the night. So I'll maybe one more minute. I'll leave it open for questions. All right, Chris, is there any closing comments that you have for tonight?
Yes. Again, it comes down to patience and consistency when you're marketing your business. Think long term. I think that people want instant gratification, and it just doesn't happen in the marketing world. By the way, you can do one strategy and see a flood of patients coming into the office. Otherwise, or you can do 3 or 4 strategies. It can take a little bit of time. But as you mentioned, Lowell, it's all about thinking long term and not getting disappointed if something doesn't happen overnight, because building a brand takes time, and building this long term takes some time. And if you put it in place, again, we're thinking about, end of 2020, if you really just put all these systems in place and really commit to this and be a practitioner of this in a very, very small way, because we're doing most of the work for you, you're going to get your biggest check, and you're going to go to the FABI event and you're going to get more details and more ways to build your business. I mean, if you just do these things and be an executor of the things that we recommend, like we've done this, we've been there, we know what it takes to do this, and you just follow our lead, your practice is going to grow, and you will get that biggest check by the end of 2020.
So Chris, thanks so much for doing this. I mean, it's so impactful to podiatry and the people who have been a part of this. So for those of you who are still on, make sure to sign up for the Chris's Marketing Machine. I promise you will not be disappointed. And please come use that free ticket. Come to the FABI event. As I said, I guarantee that you will not be disappointed. And if you are, I'll pay for your travel, because that's how confident that I am in the FABI event. So have a great 2020. Get your marketing machine going for 2020. Join us in Miami in March 13th, 14th, and 15th, 2020 to put you on course for your best year ever and for the future of your practice, your family, and all the people that you care about. Thank you so much for joining us. Look for more FABI related stuff coming soon to your email inbox, and have a great week. Thanks for coming. Good night.
Thank you.